mic test for In Groove, episode 1. We get mic check from Dan.
Number 9. Number 9.
Episode 1. Hi everybody, welcome to In Groove. This is a new music podcast show dedicated to a discussion of any type of music, all types, every type, well-known, obscure, and everything in between. My name is Jarrod White, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Dan Griffin.
Hello.
And Ben King.
Howdy.
Now, we thought because this is a new program and just wanted to introduce everyone to the show, we'd introduce each of us, just who we are, what we do, and why we're on the show. So I guess I'll start it off.
Yeah.
My name is Jarrod White. I'm an independent filmmaker and film critic and also musician. Under the name Rembrandt, I've released 2 rap LPs, and I'm into all kinds of music, every genre of music.
Just about.
Yeah. And always finding new things to listen to, always looking for recommendations. If any of our listeners out there have good recommendations, we'll take them.
Absolutely.
We might even talk about them on the show if you recommend them specifically to us. But that's who I am.
Yeah.
Dan, who are you?
My name is Dan Griffin. We're all college students. Right now I am finishing up my freshman year as a music education major. I've been playing the guitar for a long time. That's one of the main reasons I really got into music, is just from being a fan, listening to it on the radio, when I was in the minivan, my mom's car, and I got to listen to a lot of. I was just surrounded by a lot of different genres and different artists, we're all very opinionated too. That's another thing.
Yeah, things interesting.
If there's something we don't like, we make sure we discuss it and let us know. But we obviously like a lot of the same stuff. Particularly, like, my favorite band is the Beatles. I think, I know it's stereotypical, but they've made like a huge impact, I think, on the world. As corny as that sounds,
maybe just really quickly, if we were gonna pick one favorite artist from each of us, I'd say I'd take John Coltrane, you'd take the Beatles, I think Ben would take Aerosmith.
Yeah,
I'd take Aerosmith.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
so we have some variation there.
Yeah, absolutely. But we all like each artist to a certain degree.
Well, not bad about
Ben, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name's Ben King. I'm a game art and design guy with a minor in creative writing. I go to SNU, Southern New Hampshire University.
SNU.
I got into all this music while playing my video games when my grandfather bought me Guitar Hero 2. I got into all of that. My dad put on WZLX in Boston. I just listened to the classics there, and I went through that bad phase where I just wanted to really grow out my hair and headbang all the time.
Well, I think we all went through that phase.
Yeah, and I didn't really care I didn't care about any other kind of music. But now I listen to a good fair amount of stuff. I don't go too crazy, but I can go crazy sometimes, according to my friends.
All right, so today, just in general, on this show, we're going to take a genre just as a starting point of discussion. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to pick a genre, and then what we do is we listen to an album in that genre that none of us have heard before.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to be the most well-known album.
No.
It's not going to be this week's progressive rock, let's listen to Dark Side of the Moon. It's that stuff we've all heard before, that's been discussed before. So we're trying to pick some things that are both new to us to keep the show interesting and probably new to any listeners.
And the listeners. Yeah.
So this week we're talking about, or this episode, I don't know how often we'll record these, we're talking about blues rock, just as a general genre.
Yeah, we're all a big fan of blues rock. And,
big fan.
We came across this album on a website that we all use called Rate Your Music, and we were looking at a list of the best blues rock albums.
Well, we went to, on the website, you can look at the top-rated albums by genre.
Yes.
So we went to the top-rated blues rock albums.
And the first few were all albums that I think everyone has heard. I remember...
First 30 or 40 were all things we either heard or we really knew of.
There was a lot of Jimi Hendrix. There was a lot of...
I wouldn't even agree with some of the top ones, even though they are really, really good.
Yeah.
you also have to understand that that's based on a general consensus of votes.
Yeah,
so
I know.
it's albums that are in general rated highly.
Right.
But one of the first ones we saw on the list that we had never heard of that looked really interesting was an album called Teenage Head by the Flamin Groovies, released in 1971.
Yeah, the Flamin Groovies.
1971, January of 1971. And that is our album for the week. So we all listened to it together, and we're going to discuss it.
Okay. Well,
in relation to blues rock.
And we should also point out that this album does have a lot of blues elements, but it certainly is a very eclectic album. There was a lot of...
especially near the end, it starts getting eclectic, where it goes into blues rock and then into some country, and
like rockabilly. It was very like Sun Records, Elvis era Sun Records kind of things. But
especially the track on the B side, the track "Evil Hearted Ada," which sounded like straight up Elvis Presley.
Because you could hear it in the voice and then the echo in the background too.
I don't know if you guys thought this, but there was, I kept bringing up that there were some like Delta blues kind of songs, but there was a song in there that sounded like a Rolling Stones song.
Yeah,
I don't remember which.
The first song on the album, "High Flying Baby," sounds like a straight up garage rock late '60s.
Yeah, I got that vibe from
Yardbirds type song. Yeah,
I would say like the first 4 songs on here were like garage rock.
Yeah,
going along with the Teenage Head idea.
Yeah, but there was one song in particular, and I think it was in the middle of the album. I want to say,
I think you're thinking of 3220.
Probably. And it sounded like it straight up sounded like Mick and Keith.
Oh no, not that one. 3220 was a more country sounding song.
Yeah, but it just sounded to me like a Rolling Stones.
We had some songs that sounded like Dylan here.
Yeah.
But it sounded more
Buddy Holly.
But because this was 1971, it's not really like copying those type of artists. It's more...
No.
This album's very much a throwback to 50s sounds, like you said, Sun Records, Elvis Presley, and rockabilly sounds. And you have, you have a sound of the 70s, early 70s, late 60s, garage rock sound, which is calling back to those earlier classic sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd put this in line with the Yardbirds and early Dylan rock stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like you look at the album cover and it's just a bunch of guys hanging out in the garage. They're supposedly the
setting the tone.
It's supposedly the Teenage Head. So you have
they look like they could be Janis Joplin's.
As a teenager like that, you listen to so many different things and you just can never figure out which one you like the most.
Absolutely.
Just jamming away in your garage.
Yeah. But overall, it was a pleasantly surprising album. Like it was a very good album.
I didn't know what to make of a band called
at first
Flamin Groovies.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little. We obviously saw that it was on a blues rock list, but I thought it was going to be a little more psychedelic.
I was kind of hoping for a bit goofier, but like
it wasn't
a bit more easygoing.
Didn't have that psychedelic sound.
Yeah.
If anything, it was sort of a forerunner of a punk sound, like a very stripped down sort of
very
bass,
like a naked kind of sound.
And some of the vocal deliveries on these songs are very, very rough, purposefully, and very angry. A sort of Captain Beefheart meets Iggy Pop type of growl to them,
with a hint of Buddy Holly on there.
That trout mask.
That was
a bit of a. I would equate it to Beefheart's first album, Safe as Milk.
Yeah.
Similar blues rock album.
Yeah, but overall, it was a very enjoyable record to listen to. I'm sure we'll all listen to it again and again.
I'm gonna be searching out like the rest of their stuff.
Yeah, the rest of their catalog.
Yeah, they have. I'm looking at the discography now online. They have a lot of other albums that came out around the same time.
So if they're ever in the area, don't hesitate to go see the Flamin Groovies in concert. If they're still together.
Actually, on Wikipedia right here, the source of all good information.
Right.
We have years active: 65 to 92, 2004, 2008, 2013 to present. I don't know what's going on with the Flamin Groovies, but
definitely keep them in mind.
Also on here, they're listing keyboardist Mark Dunwoody died of a heart attack on June 12th of last year.
Oh, that's not so.
But they're listing 4 current members on here.
Yeah.
So in some form, the Flamin Groovies still exist. It amazes me whenever you discover a band like this that no one's ever heard. Well, obviously someone's heard of them because they've been playing for 40 years. But that the general public hasn't heard of, or even general music nerds like us haven't heard of. And they've been playing for
a long time.
Close to 50 years.
Right, yeah.
The Flamin Groovies.
Yeah.
But I'd say anyone who's into this kind of blues rock sound or garage rock, if you like the Yardbirds and bands like that.
The hard riffs in there.
Early Dylan stuff, you're going to find something like in here. And it's very eclectic. Almost every song sounds a little different variations on the same kind of...
And that's something that we all... we all like eclectic stuff. There are certain people that just stick to one genre. And that's something that you'll notice when you get to know us from the show. We all really like, swing, other genres. I mean, because there's just so much out there. So,
but so that was our album. What do we think of just blues rock in general? What are some of our favorites? Do we have any
absolutely
points of contention among us about
some of our favorite blues rock artists? I mean, there's the list is endless, really. Cream, I'm a huge fan of Cream.
It Disraeli Gears, man. The Strange Brew.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my favorite tracks on that album.
It sounded just like Eric Clapton. I mean, some bands that went in another direction, they started out as a blues band. Bands like Jethro Tull, Black Sabbath, they started out being blues rock bands.
Fleetwood Mac, which not a whole lot of people know, but
the original incarnation of Fleetwood Mac, they were a blues rock band before Rumors and the crazy success they had in the 70s.
Black Magic Woman was actually Fleetwood first, and wasn't Santana.
Yeah. But speaking of Santana, you get some early bluesy sounds on those early Santana LPs
definitely.
Mixed with a great Latin
Evil
vibe.
Ways, that's a bluesy kind of
If you want to hear a nice bluesy sound mixed with some outside influences, that's a good place to look.
That's a good place to start. Definitely. Early Stones is very bluesy.
I wouldn't go too bluesy on it. I mean, the
really early.
You get some great bluesy vibes on a record like Aftermath.
Little Red Rooster, that's a Howlin' Wolf tune. But I mean, obviously Led Zeppelin, hugely influenced by the blues.
You almost can't talk about blues rock without talking about Led Zeppelin.
Absolutely, especially in particular the first album. With songs like You Shook Me and How Many More Times and I Can't Quit You Baby. I mean, just listening to this title of the song, it's not going to be...
You're going to be hearing like that slow
that
guitar.
slide guitar,
That is just someone complaining that they're losing the baby. Oh. Sorry.
But the way Jimmy Page just plays those riffs on that.
Yeah, Robert Plant's
those first few albums, just especially the first one.
Yeah.
Just you can tell the guy is just in the blues mentality, and they're just bringing it to a new. Even in a song like Communication Breakdown, you just have like this great bluesy chug to it, almost like a Johnny Cash train tune, but just like brought to a new level of electricity.
Absolutely.
Which is why they're the innovators,
Absolutely.
A big scream at the end.
And then you get, if you want to go a little further, you have people like Stevie Ray Vaughan, who kind of brought back blues rock, or someone like George Thorogood. I mean, he was.
I really like Thorogood's that deep, wicked.
One bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
It's great tune. Great tune.
He definitely. There are a lot of artists. I felt like early to mid '70s. I think the singer-songwriter movement really, were across the radios, and I don't really think people were listening to blues rock as much. And then with people, there was the second, wave of it, and a lot of new artists came into.
Because you weren't going to be hearing a lot of John Mayo on the radio. You weren't. You just weren't.
You heard Carly Simon or something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, just to see like how music evolved, and then it kind of went south, and then people like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
And like we were saying with the Flamin Groovies, this band that we had never heard of, but yet still exists apparently ever since the late '60s. I think a lot of these blues artists and bands, especially in the blues rock genre, in all blues genres, they chug along and they just keep doing what they're doing. I mean, which is pretty much the quota of the blues in general.
Absolutely.
You have one musical form, pretty much, to play.
Yeah.
And they've been playing that form, trying to change it, make it fresh, but keeping it alive in its true spirit for years. So,
look at people like B.B. King and Buddy Guy. They're in their 80s and they're still doing it. And they're still unbelievable.
Buddy Guy just had like a live album come out like a few months ago.
Yeah.
I don't know where he recorded it, but like he comes out like
God bless him.
Just not even like a slow riff. It just hammers it into the audience, and it's just he's going really fast on it, man. You know.
But one of my favorite blues rock outfits is Savoy Brown.
Oh, you can't.
Kim Simmons fronted band that have been playing since the late 60s, that are still active. They just came out with a new record,
which is awesome.
I have seen them. I've seen them live 3 times in the last few years, and I have to say they put on the best show I've ever seen.
Yeah,
absolutely
I
ripping.
can imagine.
Their tune "Hellbound Train," when they play it live, is like it's like being on the train.
How long do they go on for?
One time I saw them, they played it for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of Hellbound Train.
They did the abrupt ending, yeah?
No, they don't do the abrupt ending live, but I don't know how you could do that live.
True.
But just to hear...
It wouldn't have the same effect.
And I mean, I got to shake hands with Kim Simmons.
Oh, no shit.
And I got stuff signed by the whole band and Kim Simmons, which is just like meeting a hero.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's like meeting a hero of mine, you know, being able to meet this person who has...
Yeah.
Not only that you've been listening to for years, but that has been such a huge figure in this movement and this genre for so long.
That's the best feeling in the world.
Speaking of Savoy Brown, another band that I think you guys have kind of mentioned them. Like I think a lot of people in this band, in Savoy Brown, was in this band. It was Foghat.
Yeah.
They. Most people know them for a couple songs, like "Slow Ride," obviously, and "Fool for the City," and what else did they do? "I Just Want to Make Love to You." They did a version of that song, and I mean, I don't really know if they're making music now, but they were one in the early '70s that I think were setting the tone for the blood.
And a lot of crossbreeding with Savoy Brown. A lot of them. Lonesome Dave was in both groups, and a lot of crossover between those two bands in particular.
And obviously in the late '60s, another group was the Jeff Beck group. With Rod Stewart and Ron Wood. Actually, it's funny because people thought that Led Zeppelin was a copy of the Jeff Beck group, and
really.
Boy, were they wrong, people maybe know 2 Jeff Beck groups.
Yeah, it's crazy though how historical revisionism sort of glosses over moments like this where these almighty bands that have come to like be the very definition of a genre like blues rock, at the time were seen as copycats or just like cashing in on the movement.
Before,
again and again and again you hear the same thing.
Right.
But I mean, so many blues rock artists that I've just been listening to for years. Rory Gallagher for one.
Yeah. I was just gonna say,
I mean, not a guy. Yeah, not a guy that a lot of casual listeners have heard of.
No,
but anyone who is interested in blues rock on a deep level or has listened to the genre for any period of time knows Rory Gallagher, and they know
Alvin Lee. There's another one.
True, Alvin Lee, and 10 years later.
No Deuce by Rory, because that one's like perfect.
Yeah, but Rory Gallagher and his band Taste just brought the genre to a new level.
I think it really started with Eric Clapton, and with it being in the Yardbirds at first. I think he was really the first. As corny as it sounds, the first God.
Cream and Derek and the Dominoes,
and all those bands. He was in a bazillion. He's been in so many bands. It's crazy.
And then his solo work is just it's always growing. So.
Yeah. But when he first came on the scene, it was like a breath of fresh air. Who is this new guy? And he's a 19-year-old British guy. He sounds like he's playing, and he's a guy from the Mississippi Delta, and he's just from the other side of London. It's just.
Yeah. Should also say, just related to Eric Clapton, anyone who's interested in blues rock to check out the Crossroads DVDs.
Oh, absolutely.
And any and all of them.
Those are
so cool
to see Eric Clapton play with guys
like Steve Winwood and like all those guys.
But not only guys like that, but like contemporaries like Robert Cray and stuff. But classic guys like B.B. King and Hubert Sumlin, just these
Buddy Guy,
these guys who've been in the game for years,
absolutely,
and have influenced Clapton to do what he's done, and now they're together playing, and sponsoring the whole thing. It's just a great
and to
experience
see sort
those.
of like his little proteges.
Guys like Robert Randolph
and John Mayer.
That he's championed and brought to the forefront. That are killing it out there.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching the Crossroad festivals. It's just maybe being a guitar player, it holds a special place in my heart. But I think great stuff.
I think the best was when we were all hanging out, and I think Dan, you fell asleep during it, and
it wasn't because I was bored. I was just
Jarrod's dad fell asleep, and Jarrod and I are the only ones watching it, and Jarrod's dad just starts snoring just so loudly. I remember that. I'm sorry.
Good times.
Yeah, Jeff Beck always puts the two of you to sleep whenever he comes on.
I'm sorry.
I love Jeff Beck. That appearance, I forget what year that is.
A couple years. He did a Day in the Life by the Beatles, I remember.
Yeah, there's a different year though that he came on. He did a few of his jazz fusion pieces, and it's just.
I've never been a huge fan of Jeff Beck. I think he's more of a showy guitar player.
Oh, definitely.
Rather than fair to say, technical,
But I think there's a time and place for that, and I think he's sort of
I respect
originator and pioneer of that style of playing.
But I like Blow by Blow. I think that's a good album. I like a lot of his early stuff, like the stuff he did with the Yardbirds is good, but I don't put him in the same league as some of the other guitar players, some of his contemporaries. But one thing we were also going to talk about on the show is our top 5 favorite albums.
Well, first we were going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
We were going to give some blues rock recommendations.
Blues albums, of course.
So, do you want to start with your recommendations?
Yeah, sure.
Dan?
I will start with mine.
We're picking 2 albums each. These are recommendations not of like all-time classics, not of the most popular blues rock albums or the most original or innovative. These are just some personal picks of albums we really like that you might not hear otherwise. Albums that you probably haven't heard or maybe you've heard of, but just stuff that we think you should check out that you'll really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. So my 2 picks are actually from artists that we were just talking about. One of them it features Peter Green, who, as Ben mentioned, was the original guitar player in Fleetwood Mac. He formed it with John McVie and Mick Fleetwood in the late 60s. And he was, I believe, you said the second album. I believe it was the second John Mayall blues record album.
After the one with Clapton.
Which is
still amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
But the second one is also pretty good. It has Peter Green on guitar, and they do... there's a version of there's a song that a Freddie King song called "The Stumble," which is it's a really good Peter Green guitar solo, and it's basically kind of his version of like on the first album. There's a song called "Hideaway," which is a Freddie King song, and it's very similar to "Hideaway," and it's his own, and it's just unbelievable. And there's some blues covers on there, and it's overall a very good album. I believe it came out in around 1967. And
what's the name of that LP?
It's called The Hard Road. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Hard Road by John Mayall.
John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, A Hard Road. And the second one is called Off the Cradle from Eric Clapton, and it has one song in particular that's on there. It's called I'm Torn Down. And it's unbelievable. It came out in the mid-90s. It's a strict blues album.
Wait, are you saying From the Cradle?
From the Cradle. Sorry, I meant From the Cradle. Yeah. What did I say? Off the Cradle?
Yeah.
From the Cradle.
It came out in 1994.
1994, yeah. It came out, I believe it came out right after his Unplugged album.
Yes, it did.
That was, during that time in his life, Clapton was going through a lot. He had that song Tears in Heaven, which was about his son who... who jumped from the building. I mean, he was only 5 years old. Very sad story, but it was good to see him go back to his roots. And it's a really great blues rock album. Highly recommend it. And I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, this sounds like good picks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm definitely going to check out the From the Cradle.
From the Cradle,
yeah. Ben, do you have 2 albums you'd like to recommend in the genre?
I got 2. Speaking of Savoy, in the new one that they just came out, I definitely have you listened to Go Into the Dote yet?
I haven't heard the entirety of the new album yet.
I would definitely look that up. It came out
I think it came out in February,
like 3 months ago or something, and it starts off with in some like some of the like just really great guitarist riffs from Kim Simmons, and you could definitely hear some like really just early basic blues roots, but it still gives that heavy feel to it with some nice lyrics in them and everything. And I would definitely go with that, with something real recent that people can maybe find. And my second one would be from the Robert Cray Band, specifically the band, because there's two ones. The Bad Influence album. I'm in love with this one, especially the two of my favorite are Phone Booth and So Many Women, So Little Time. That one in particular gets me up and moving, so I honestly love the way
I think that is a great LP and a really underrated one.
Yeah, with Cray's guitar skills is just unheard of, and I think he's so good. Him and Smoking Gun, that's just really good stuff. And but yeah, I'm gonna go with Going to the Delta, Savoy Brown, and the Robert Cray Band's Bad Influence. I'm definitely going with those two.
All right, well, my two albums I want to recommend. The first one is Rory Gallagher's band Taste, a live album from 1971, Live at the Isle of Wight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is just it's a single LP live album where they just jam. They just really jam. The album ends with a rendition of Catfish, which is pretty much on every live Taste album. The version on this one is probably the best. They just go at it. And the whole time through, it's just straight down Rory Gallagher and his group doing what they do so well. I'm in love with this guy. I'm in love with his guitar tone. Everything about him is his appearance, just his persona. It's a shame we lost him so soon, but I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
There's enough of his stuff out there. They're still releasing live documents all the time.
He was also a huge influence on a lot of other guitar players.
Oh yeah.
In particular, Brian May of Queen. I know he cited him as a huge influence, and he was actually considered as being Ritchie Blackmore's replacement in Deep Purple. But they went with Tommy Bolin,
who is also a great guitar. Yes. I'm a huge fan of
absolutely.
Tommy Bolin. But I mean,
can't go wrong with either of them.
No. But this Taste LP, it's not one of the most well-known Rory Gallagher albums, so I thought I'd recommend this one because really great. Yeah. And if you can manage to find it, it's not too easy to find on LP, but if you can manage to get your hands on it, I can't imagine anyone being disappointed in it. And my other LP pick is Robin Trower's Bridge of Sighs from 1974.
Classic.
This is just... I listened to it again recently after not hearing it for a while, a few weeks ago. It is just almost unreal in how good this album is. How these, especially the first few songs on the album, how they almost seem to become one extended piece. Like, right from the opening track, Day of the Eagle, into Bridge of Sighs, and then opening the second side of the album with Two Rolling Stone. This album is, like, back to front, classic, original, like, unique blues compositions with just great vocals from James Dewar, and of course Robin Trower's absolutely ripping guitar. Yeah, of course Procol Harum was
one of the most underrated '60s bands. I think people just know them for Whiter Shade of Pale. But there's so much more out there, and definitely Robin Trower was.
And also classic. Robin Trower, just as a note, one of the few solo bands that is named for not the singer.
Right.
He doesn't sing, it's James Dewar, so at least on this album. But those are my two LP picks for blues rock. So that's Taste, Live at the Isle of Wight, and Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs. So a lot more stuff in blues rock. We just wanted to do a general discussion of the genre, and we talked about the Flamin Groovies as a new album we'd all listen to.
Yeah, I'm getting into them now.
Yeah, but other than that, we'd like to end the show every episode with a top 5 list. Sort of just as a point of discussion, but also because it's fun to rate things.
Yeah.
As arbitrary as it is. Yeah. So this week, or this episode, we thought we'd, further introduce ourselves to anyone listening. By just... That was a nice one. By just picking our top 5 favorite albums of all time.
I forgot to look at it.
5.
Why don't we start with you, Ben?
Favorite albums.
I'll start with my first one because I already know.
So I mean, this is just any album ever.
Yeah.
Should we go from like 5?
Top.
Yeah,
five.
go.
Should we
So
go from
start.
like 5 to
just
1?
start
or
at
1
5,
to 5,
Ben.
or 3 to 5 to 2 to 1, or
Start at 5, go down to 1.
okay.
We're gonna hear Ben's list
up
first.
to 1. So, number 5. This one I've listened to way too often.
Oh boy.
I think it is. I don't. You probably never even listened to it. This one, I love every song on it. I just. It's amazing how hard and awesome it is. Some of these songs, and it is "Black Holes and Revelations" by Muse. I love this.
Oh, nice.
I love this one to death. Seriously,
It's a great album.
I never listened to the whole thing.
I think I've heard that one.
Everyone
before.
knows Knights of Sidonia, and I would say probably Starlight off of that one. But I don't know why. It's just that I loved it way too much as soon as I heard it, and I continuously listened to it over and over and over again. And I still think Knights of Sidonia is probably their best song, and it's so cool. Number 4, Strange Ways, Here We Come by the Smiths.
Nice.
That
I did not expect that for number 4.
I didn't expect that
I've
either,
been-
but
well, I've been
I'm
listening.
not disappointed.
I listened to it yesterday. I was packing up my stuff from college.
Strictly for a girlfriend and a coma.
That and the one before.
Every
that,
song on there.
I know.
Yeah, that would be.
That might be the best song
A
on there.
Rush and a Push and the Land is
I don't know,
Ours.
I love Death of a Disco Dance.
Death of a Disco Dance. Yeah.
That and I love Unhappy Birthday.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with
Because
any
you're
song.
evil and you lie, and if you should die, I won't cry. But I don't know. It's the Smiths' last official one, and not. I don't mean like.
And it's the one most people don't like. They don't care for as much.
Really?
Which
Wow.
I think it's
Yeah.
so underrated.
Because the Queen is Dead is like the one that everyone really, really likes,
Right.
which I love too.
I have a hard time picking between those two. I find the last 2 albums, Queen is Dead and Strangers Here We Come,
Yeah.
almost are equal in my eyes.
I think I need to hear Queen is Dead again, because I heard it once and
I really
like
enjoy
to give
the Queen is-
everything another listen to find
Yeah.
make a.
I mean,
you
the
know,
Queen is Dead,
confirmation.
frankly, Mr. Shankly, the boy with the thorn in his side. I like it a lot, but it's Strange Ways. Here We Come. That's my favorite. All right,
That's
number,
awesome.
number 3. My Favorite Things by John Coltrane.
Nice.
Really?
Well, I'm a saxophone guy.
No, I just.
I just
Good
mean, like
pick.
I play saxophone in general for people that didn't know, and like I just listened to that first song on the album. Just My Favorite Things.
Raindrops on Roses,
Yeah.
Whiskers on Kittens, right?
Yeah.
The way he deconstructs that tune and
It's
builds
unbelievable.
it back up
It's
from the
crazy,
bass is
and
insane.
it
And
was-
just to listen to that song over the course of his career, how he played it live, you can see the full arc of John Coltrane's career from when he played it on that album to when he played it in the mid-'60s when it was starting to get a bit more modal to when he played it in the late stages of his career. There's a version of it at from his last recorded concert.
When did he die? Was it like 70s?
70s.
Yeah,
I'd say.
very early 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Or actually, it might have been 1970. But if you listen to the last recording live of John Coltrane, live at Olatunji, there's a version of it that is off the chain. It
Really?
like unchained, like insane. Like the song is nearly unrecognizable.
Because live at Seattle, he goes wild.
Live at Seattle is
During-
the
during the
scariest
middle of-
album ever
during the middle
recorded.
during the middle of Evolution. I'm just, I gotta.
He is screaming into the microphone. He's
There-
gutturally. He invented death metal.
There's wow. I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to like stop it because I don't know if I can even.
It sounds
handle
like
it.
somebody
And
is killing your family.
It's so
That's what it sounds like.
It's like a John Zorn thing, but
Jeez.
it's just happening to you live and not.
I can't even imagine being in that audience at that live at Seattle concert, and
Like, I
then
think-
afterwards, the song ends and you hear.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
You're like, are these people? Did their brains not
Right.
explode from what they just heard?
like all I could think of is like maybe they just clapped because like if they didn't, John Coltrane was gonna smash them to bits was a saxophone. Like why didn't you clap?
That's a great pick. Of
But
course.
yeah,
Anything Coltrane is pretty much golden.
it was either that or Love Supreme. So I could. I go,
That's probably my favorite.
I will always. my
Which
favorite
we may
things.
be hearing about later.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would bring it up. Second one. I've only listened to it like in entirety like 3 times. and I heard it the first time, and I remember I was playing. I play my games with new music I'm listening to, and I shut my game off for the first time ever just to listen to this entirety. The Plastic Beach by the Gorillaz. Now it's a huge
That's number 2 though?
That's number 2. Yeah,
I love that.
I like the
album.
Gorillaz.
Number 1 is like, it will always stay there, but these will always move around. I mean, Led Zeppelin 2 is up there, but I mixed it up.
I love Plastic Beach. I think it's
Plastic
great.
Beach, I don't know how the hell they did it, but it all fits together so perfectly. And there's a Lou Reed song
that track
on
is killer.
Some Kind of Nature, and you just
Some Kind of Nature.
like you feel like Lou Reed and who's the main guy that like
Damon Albarn.
Yeah, you feel like those two are like best friends because the way they like stylize their voices in the songs, it feels like it's just like father and son on that one. But like
That's
Sweepstakes, Glitter Jellyfish,
Super Fast Jellyfish.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Glitter Freeze. That's what I'm thinking.
Glitter Freeze.
Rhinestones, and of course
Rhinestone Eyes. Yeah.
My
Stylo.
absolute favorite is Melancholy Hill. It's absolutely. It's the first time I heard that. I was actually a bit like kind of sad. I was just like, oh man. But no, every time I've listened in that last.
I would say that's an undervalued album. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked up at the reviews. Like that got less. For ratings, that was like the least one besides The Fall. That was like kind of.
But also, like we were saying, that's an eclectic album. Like we were saying, we like things that are eclectic. Yeah. That album jumps from electropop to rap.
It starts with like the orchestral intro, music, and then it goes to Snoop Dogg, and all of a sudden you're like,
whoa, I gotta hear this.
Snoop's on it, Lou Reed's on it, De La's on it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's so cool.
Nice.
But the fact that what's always amazed me about Gorillaz is the synthesis of not only all those genres, but all the various guests that they use and how they manage to make cohesive wholes. I'd say both Plastic Beach and Demon Days are perfect albums.
I would almost say their opening one, the self-titled Gorillaz, is almost perfect, but like some of the songs they just don't. Their beats and rhythms, they're not like as good as like.
It's not as good as the Fall. It's a bit of a first try.
And the Fall is mostly just instrumentals. There's like a few. That one I'm not too crazy for. It's still really really good, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to listen to it again.
And number 1, Ben.
Quadrophenia by The Who.
Yeah,
classic.
That is the greatest thing in my book. I mean, I finally bought it I finally bought the record the other day, and it was in good condition. I finally just gave up the $20 that I usually never do for a record, but I was like, you know what, I'm grabbing it. It sounds absolutely amazing. Every song on there just tells some kind of crazy story, just like a teenager in London just going crazy. I don't know. There's something beautiful to it, especially right at the end. That love reign over me. There's something beautiful.
And it's an amazing story too.
Yeah.
Especially in that song, you can hear such emotion that Roger Daltrey. Sings it. It's just.
And I love the instrumental tracks on that album.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Quadrophenia, and what's the other one called? The Rock.
The Rock,
yeah.
One at the beginning and one towards the end. Those are just.
I mean, you had the best rock.
Brilliant.
And some of the other ones, just like Bellboy, Cut My Hair.
I love Bellboy and Cut My Hair. Those are two of my favorites.
I'm one. Of course, 515.
Dr. Jimmy.
Yeah. Dr. Jimmy is probably the best Who song ever.
Yeah.
The Real Me has one of the best bass lines I've ever heard.
Oh my
in my
god,
life.
Yeah. Of course, but yeah, Quadrophenia has a.
That's my favorite Who album.
That is very near and dear to my heart.
We'll get to mine later.
Don't poop on it or anything.
No, of course not.
Don't poop on my parade.
Yeah, the Black Parade. Sorry, no. I won't.
My Chemical Romance.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, your favorite album is.
Welcome to the Black Parade.
I changed my mind. It's actually that Pitbull and Kesha one where Timber is on there.
All right, so should I launch into my top 5?
Let's hear Jarrod's.
All right.
That sounded like an actual nickname we're giving him.
Jarrod.
Okay.
Jarrod.
Thank God.
All right. All right, this is my top 5 favorite albums. Number 5, a sophomore album, second album by this artist. And This Year's Model, Elvis Costello.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
my God. That's something we are all obsessed with Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
We are obsessed with Elvis Costello.
Show just
that you can't go wrong with that album, but for some reason my favorite is the first album, My Aim Is True, which people usually say that those first two are his best.
My favorite's still Blood and Chocolate, but yeah, This Year's Model.
This Year's Model.
This Year's Model. I gotta say, I've liked Elvis Costello for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was just a few years ago that I started listening just out of the blue. I was like, I haven't listened to Elvis Costello in a while. And I'd always liked My Aim Is True best. I always thought that was the best one.
Yeah.
And I'd listen to that one. Oh, yeah, great album.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I haven't heard This Year's Model in a long time. I don't like it as much, but I'll put it on. Blew my mind. It was after not hearing it for a while and then hearing it again, it was like I was listening to it for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was so fresh, so raw, so hard hitting. It's almost a cliche to say it, but that album is so guttural, so raw.
Oh yeah. He was very angry on those first two albums.
Oh yeah, especially
very angry.
The second one is the best breakup album of all time.
Yeah.
That's what you want to hear when you just got broken up with.
When you
want to hear Elvis
Costello. When you get to around Get Happy, he starts to mellow out, I think. You know,
a little
bit,
or he's angry in different ways. If you listen to King of America, you get some very angry songs on there, like Little Palaces.
Well,
but just in a very different.
But
kind
like
of
if you listen, like if you know Imperial Bedroom, that's a very mellow album. That's I'm a huge fan of that album.
But This Year's Model, every song on it is great.
Absolutely.
I think Hand in Hand is just one of
Little
the
Triggers.
most perfect rock pop songs ever written.
One of the best ballads of all time, Little Triggers.
Little Triggers, yeah.
So good. Lip Service, Don't Want to Go to Chelsea.
And the instrumental breakdown on Lipstick Vogue is to die for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone knows I think the most popular songs are like Pump It Up and Radio. And I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea is a very well-known song.
I saw Elvis Costello live with the Police, and I hated him. I remember that. Like, I hated him, and then when you guys got me into him, I heard the name. I'm like, wait, why do I know? Oh my God, I know why I know this name. I hated him, but I gave him another chance, and of course, I love that guy.
Yeah.
So,
but that's my number 5. Number 4, walking into familiar territories here. This album's already been mentioned in this discussion. John Coltrane, I Love Supreme.
Nice.
I mean, as much as I love some of the other John Coltrane albums, this is the one I always return to. It's a cliche, but I think for once, the critical...
I love Supreme.
Love Supreme.
So
I think for once, or one of a few times, the critical opinion is actually right. This this actually is his best album. It is like listening to the universe.
I can't name another time.
I can't even begin to describe.
Probably my favorite jazz album. I mean, there's so much I haven't heard of jazz, but like.
Well, I mean, I am a huge jazz head. I've been listening to jazz for years. And this is still the best jazz album I've heard. I mean, there's a few contenders. I'd say Black Saint and the Sinner Lady by Charles Mingus. I'd say the first Naked City album. Yeah. There's some that you know, McCoy Tyner's Enlightenment I think is great, but this one is the one I always return to. It's the perfect cross section between tradition and experimentation in jazz. Yeah. It's spiritual. It comes directly from my heart to you, like the classic tune. I just love it. I can't find a single fault in it.
Yeah.
Can't find a fault.
Nice choice.
Can't find a fault in their stars.
Can't find a fault in it. Number 3, Fault in Our Stars. I have been going around putting cigarettes in my mouth and quoting that scene from The Fault in Our Stars that the promo clip is, because I've never read it and obviously I haven't seen the movie. I've seen the trailer and the promo clip.
What was the
in the promo clip? It's the boy and he puts a cigarette in his mouth and the girl goes, "You do know that cigarettes cause cancer and you can't breathe. I'm here with my breathing tube in and you're gonna smoke a cigarette." And he says, "No, man. I put the cigarette in my mouth, but notice I never light it. Keep that which could kill you closest, but never let it harm you." Anyway. So that's pretentious piece of crap. But
number 3.
Moving on to a not pretentious, not piece of crap.
Right, yeah.
Segue.
Yeah, nice segue.
This one might be a shocker, but This is the most recent. This is the newest album on the list by a long shot.
Okay.
By about 30 years. This is the newest one. Very recent album. And actually the most recent album until next month from this band.
I don't know.
Well, actually, maybe not if you count Wise Up Ghost. But this is Undone by The Roots.
Nice. Jimmy Fallon's house band.
Jimmy Fallon's house band. They're killing it on the show.
Yeah.
And
I am so excited for their new album.
And they're at Boston Calling in September with Nas.
Calling?
Boston Calling.
Oh, okay.
Boston Calling.
Okay. I thought you said
There
Boston Calling.
There was the
Boston
Replacements, but go on. Sorry.
Oh, the Replacements. I would love to see the Replacements.
Yeah, but there's it's like $50 for like one day, and like there's only 2 people I really want to see. But go on.
Undone is. I mean, I'm so excited for their new one, and then You Shoot Your Cousin. But this is the last Roots, strictly Roots album that came out. I mean, I've liked all the other Roots albums, but this one, hearing this one, something about it is just, it's concise. I don't think it even breaks 40 minutes, but it's concise. Every song is like a symphony in and of itself, a rap, orchestral rap, pop symphony.
Yeah.
I mean, the features on this album, I mean, you have guys like Greg Porn and Bilal on here who are just laying down verses that are equal to Black Thought's in terms of lyrical, just beautiful prose and flow and rhythm. And the way that these features meld with the backdrop, just the Questlove's beats and these swelling strings, I can see someone viewing it as syrupy, and it's taking hip-hop very far from its, boom bop and jazz rap roots, especially their roots. Right. But the sound that they've been developing since, I'd say, Phrenology, with the more experimental and...
Phrenology's really great.
Yeah, great album, but with a bit of an experimental, crazy side to it, going into records like How I Got Over, that's more, I would say, mellow, has a Joanna Newsom feature on it, some folk sounds on it, strangely enough. Undone is just flawless to me. It is an album I can just sit down and totally devote my attention to and never be distracted for a second.
Nice choice, yeah. I definitely agree.
So,
have you listened to the first Roots yet?
I have not heard the whole first Roots album.
You should probably get it.
That's the only one I haven't heard in entirety.
It's so funky and awesome.
Yeah. Roots. I can't wait for the new one.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Can't wait.
Looking forward to hearing it.
The 2 lead singles that they've released off it sound good. Yeah. But again, it's going to be a concept album like Undone, so you gotta wait until you can hear it in its entirety. You don't know what those songs are going to sound like in the course of the story and placement in the album. So, but number 2 is an album that, I mean, my number 1 is always my number 1. It's been that way for years.
Same here, yeah.
But this one is so close to overtaking it. It's almost like a tie. Mm-hmm. Almost. It is so close. And this is Kate Bush's masterpiece, Hounds of Love. This album is perfect. I just listened to it again yesterday for the fucking upteenth time. Yeah. I don't know how many times I've heard this album. It's one of my go-to, I don't know what I feel like listening to, I'll put on this album. Because I just know I'm going to love it every time. And any mood it fits. Except maybe a party. I wouldn't put it on at a party.
No. Depends on who's at the party.
Yeah, well...
If we're there, you would put on Kate Bush.
Well, and I have.
You certainly have.
This album is... It's split into 2 sides. You have the A side, Hounds of Love, and the B side, The Ninth Wave. The A side is just a series of unrelated pop songs. You have songs about all kinds of things. I don't know where I'm going with this. But you have every song on the A side is great, perfect.
Yeah.
Kate Bush perfecting what Kate Bush does. Songs like Running Up That Hill.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Cloud Busting, the title track, The Big Sky. These songs are just Kate Bush doing what Kate Bush does at her best.
Yeah.
The B-side, The Ninth Wave, is something it's an entirely different animal. It's almost a miniature concept album in and of itself.
Right.
Centered around the theme of being stuck in the water at night and trying to stay awake so you don't drown.
Wow.
And all this,
I gotta listen to this album.
It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
I mean, I've heard snippets, but I haven't heard the whole
and
thing.
all those songs on the B-side blend together, and it's a wonderfully warm and creepy and overwhelmingly optimistic and beautiful experience. When that album ends, the final just like chord of music, the final chord that you hear is just, it seals the deal. It's like this album, like just as a whole, like even though it's split into two,
right,
works so well.
Yeah, I think with Kate Bush, I mean, with me at least, the first time I heard some of her songs like Wuthering Heights and, you know, some of her more popular songs, I didn't know what to make of it at first. I think it's maybe just because it was, I didn't completely dislike it. I was just like, I don't get it. I think like she's an acquired taste, and I think
she's definitely an acquired taste.
With time, I've definitely, you know, learned to I definitely am a fan. I appreciate, you know, her stuff, but yeah.
And I would say her two albums before this, The Dreaming and Never Forever, are very close to being up here on the top.
Yeah.
I think those three albums are perfect. But this is the one that always, I mean, this is the best.
Yeah.
And going into my number one.
Drumroll.
This has been my number one for ages. I can't imagine anything taking over. It's Love Forever Changes, the 1967 LP from the Arthur Lee fronted Baroque pop folk hippie jam band, whatever you want to call it. Love.
We listened to this album about 2 months ago.
Yeah, it was...
during all of our spring break. Yeah, I think it was when we were on spring break. And I remember Ben was like, "What? I haven't heard this album. I know Jarrod speaks very highly of it. Why don't we check it out?" And Jarrod was like, "Fuck yeah, we're listening to it." And we, you know, I mean, I've heard Love before, but it was, every song gels.
Oh my god.
And it just goes into it one so well, and it was a great
ending,
album.
you talk about it.
The ending is apocalyptic. The last song is a foretelling of the apocalypse, but in a beautiful way where he says, "There's only one thing that I know, and that's that all that lives is gonna die."
Yep.
And it's just with this horn section and this just building music, it builds into this wonderfully uplifting crescendo, but it's just with this menace of doom underneath it. And the album is so perfect for me as a cultural artifact because it comes at the peak, or is coming in at where the hippie movement is about to peak.
Absolutely.
And Love is, I guess, for better or for worse, a hippie band.
Yeah, because
I'm doing quote fingers right now.
And that's the year that a lot of the big hippie albums came out.
Yeah, you have Sgt. Pepper's coming out that year.
Yeah, Satanic Majesties from the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, but this album, it almost foretells the doom and the downfall of this movement that they understand they belong to.
Right.
And, I mean, it's an album that exists in and of that time, but not with the blinders on like some of the other albums do. You know, it's totally conscious of what's going on, how this whole cultural uprising is naive, it's young, it doesn't have the philosophy or the understanding or even the manpower to solve the problems of this world and this nation. But just in and of its... all that aside, these are just perfectly constructed songs. They will stick in your head in the best way. And the lyrics... I mean, as much as I love music, the lyrics are probably the best part of the album. Yeah. Arthur Lee's lyricism is just out of this world. He's a folk singer like none other. The wordplay, and it's almost James Joyce level wordplay on this album, to the point where I'm listening to it for the 70th, the 80th, the 90th time, and I'm still picking up on it. Yeah, right. I don't ever get sick of it, but I'm still picking up little like jokes from one lyric to the other, where like the fact that so many of these lyrics have not only 2 but 3 meanings in and of themselves, just a single phrase. I mean, it's just an album that from the first time I heard it, I knew nothing about it. I just put it on and listened, and blew me away. It's always gripped me. I always return to it to find it's just as good. So that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay, so my top 5. These are from well-known bands. I mean, all of these are relatively, well, no, they're all probably...
I would say everyone's were from well-known bands.
Yeah, aristocracy of rock, though. You know. So at my number 5, we've mentioned him a lot in this episode. It's the Blues Breakers album with Eric Clapton at number 5. This album, to me, is the best guitar album I have ever heard in my life. I'm talking about all of the Hendrix stuff, all of the... Yeah. It just takes the cake.
More cake.
Yeah. Well, now we're all hungry for cake, right? No, it's just unbelievable.
I have cake upstairs.
Oh,
okay.
Everything's...
I don't. I have Boston cream pie.
Go on.
Ooh. Anyways, and we've all heard this album, and I think we all are fans of it. I think we all we love Eric Clapton's music, I think, and at this period, you know, he was at his creative peak as far as guitar, or he was beginning his peak, doing, you know, regular blues songs and adding a completely different spin onto it. And from that first song, All Your Love, that little guitar hook, it just sinks you in, and you know, that album is just unbelievable. I believe that album came out in 1966, so that came out around, you know, the mid 60s, when you had a lot of bands were hitting the...
Hey, Jarrod.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt, but could you scratch my left shoulder blade? It's killing me. No, down. Right there. Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
We may have picked up the scratching on our recorder.
I'm sorry, but I need it.
So that's my number 5 pick.
That album is 1966.
1966. Do you guys want to say anything about that album? I mean...
Oh, I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. My number 4 pick. Okay, I've said this a billion times, and I still agree with this. I think that
Do you know the beat?
That is a great album, by the way. Ben is making fun of me.
No.
Which Herman's LP is it?
I think that these 4 bands, they are definitely 4 of the biggest rock bands in the world, hands down.
Jonas Brothers.
No, stop being stupid.
Sorry.
These 4 bands, I think.
Nirvana?
No.
Okay,
we can go on with
done.
this. Let me just address the point. I think that these 4 bands, no one is even close to being up there with... Oh, I shouldn't say that, but like, I think that these 4 bands are just like in a league of their own. And these bands are, like I said, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, and Led Zeppelin. So in this top 5, I'm going to name my favorite album by each of these artists. So with number 4, I'm going to pick Let It Bleed from the Rolling Stones. Came out in 1969.
Absolute classic.
If you just look at the tracks on this album, you're like, great song. Like, there's not one flaw in that album.
I always forget how good that album is.
You know,
so I look at the track list, I'm like, I really like all these songs.
Give Me Shelter, You Can't Always Get What You Want, Monkey Man, you know, Midnight Rambler, great blues song.
Yeah.
We all agree with this. I think everyone says that the best period of the Stones was like Exile on Main Street, and you know, everyone says that that's their best album. Personally, I love the 60s period of the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the end of the 60s, but you know, they were other than the Beatles, they were like the other really huge band in the British invasion movement. You know, with songs like Satisfaction, Get Off My Cloud, Paint It Black, to name a few. I mean, there's way more than that, but...
Under My Thumb.
Yeah, Under My Thumb. Under My Thumb!
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Dumb.
And,
yeah.
the list goes on. I mean, it's just... I mean, they are... I mean, I don't think they're the world's greatest rock band, like what people say, but they're definitely one of them. So I would say that that's my favorite Rolling Stones album. My number 3 album is Who's Next by The Who. I know that...
I just got the record the other day from my dad.
That is... I mean...
It's a good album.
I was actually considering going with Quadrophenia, actually, but Who's Next tells I mean, the thing about Who's Next is it has a good mix of hits and really great studio tracks.
Getting in Tune.
Yeah, songs like Getting in Tune, The Song Is Over.
I love The Song Is Over.
My Wife. That might be my favorite song of that album. Bargain.
Bargain's great.
That's a relatively well-known song. People, you know, Going Mobile with Pete Townsend.
Going Mobile was great.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the songs like Bob O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again, Behind Blue Eyes.
And they're classics, but like they're still great songs.
They're still great.
As much as you've heard them before, they're still great.
I just think there's not one bad song. I really think that's just unbelievable. A great album. Great synthesizer work too from Pete Townsend.
Oh yeah,
especially.
I love seeing the documentary. I was watching a rock documentary. I saw this whole equipment. I'm like,
is it the classic albums thing where they talk about that? Because that was an album that was featured on that.
No, it
was
like,
an amazing journey.
No, it was like
that's a good documentary.
It was a history of rock and roll, and I had a couple different discs, and I got to the Who.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So
what's coming in at number 2?
Number 2 is
who works for number 2.
Yeah, who does number 2 work for? Austin Powers. Number 2. Good thing you meant. It's kind of funny that we mentioned number 2 because my second favorite album is Led Zeppelin 2.
I was gonna put it there, but I didn't. But go on.
Everyone, I think a lot of people would say that 4 is their best album.
And that has the biggest hits.
So. I mean, yeah, that has Stairway and it has Black Dog, Rock and Roll.
I forgot about
When the Levee Breaks.
But you like 2.
To me, 2 is perfect.
I love 2.
I think if someone was to listen to one Led Zeppelin album, I would give them 2.
You did give me 2 when you got me into Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You gave me 2. I was like, that's why I love it so much.
I've never liked 2 as much as some of the others. I like 1 better. I like 4 better. I like.
Do you like 3 better?
No, I don't like 3 better.
3's
but
good.
I like
3's good.
But I like Houses of the Holy better, and I like
Physical Graffiti.
Physical Graffiti might be my favorite.
Do you like Coda better?
No, I don't.
I mean, Coda's good.
Presence.
Presence is great.
Yeah,
so.
Presence is really good.
It is a good album. But to me, I think that for one thing, Moby Dick might be the best drum performance I've ever heard in my life. Seriously, best.
Like even live
John Bonham
recordings?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Because when he does it live, it's crazy. They just walk off stage and they take a smoke and a drink, and then they come back.
It's like a 20-minute drum solo. Yeah,
he's still going.
And then you have some great songs on there. You have Whole Lotta Love, Heartbreaker, Ramble On. Thank You, the Lemon Song. It's just I don't know. I think that's their best album. And then number 1 is I think everyone knows what number 1 is. As I said, my favorite group is the Beatles. And my favorite Beatles album, which is my favorite album of all time, is the 1966 classic Revolver.
Never heard of it.
That is my...
Never heard it.
No.
Yeah. That, to me, is unbelievable. Like when Jarrod was saying about Forever Changes, he'll listen to it and he'll pick up little jokes or something. Every time I hear Revolver, I notice something different that I didn't notice before the first time hearing it. Do you know what I mean? You'll just hear it and you'll be like, oh wow, I've never noticed that.
Yeah, I get that was like the Bare Naked Ladies for some reason.
Yeah. But to me, Revolver, McCartney, I think that was at his peak. There's every McCartney song on there is amazing. Eleanor Rigby, For No One.
For No One's my favorite.
Got to Get You Into My Life. George was great. He was really starting to come into his own with songs like Taxman and Ringo. I mean, Ringo, Yellow Submarine is arguably one of his biggest Beatles songs. And then John Lennon had some good stuff. I'm Only Sleeping with the backwards guitar. And
who wrote Dr. Robert? That's all I want.
Dr. Robert.
Dr. Roberts.
Dr. Robert's a John Lennon piece.
That saucer.
Yeah. I think that was about their first LSD trip.
Dr. Roberts, please help Ringo.
Right. Well, have you heard that story that the first time that they had LSD, George and his wife and John and his wife, they were out to they were having dinner at their dentist's house, and they were having coffee, and they put LSD into the coffee, and then they went to a club after, and
the rest is history.
The rest is history. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say that Sgt. Pepper is the best Beatles album, and we all disagree with that. We all disagree with that.
That or Let It Be, and I'm just sitting there like, have you listened to
no one ever
said Let It Be was the best.
Okay, well, you haven't gone to Snooze, so...
Oh,
sorry.
I know
they don't count.
I think Ben's favorite album is Revolver from the Beatles because we're all Beatles fans. I know sometimes we get a little
Rubber Soul comes in at
Rubber Soul is like a close second in my
book. Rubber Soul's my favorite.
Yeah, but I'm sure you would like his Revolver.
Revolver's one of their best.
Yeah, definitely. I just love. That's really when the Beatles started to get more psychedelic. They had the single, Paperback Writer came out around that time, the single, and
good.
Rain, which I think are two of the best Beatles songs of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that, I think if you look at the 500 greatest albums of Rolling Stone, I think Revolver's like 4 or something. It's high up there.
Right next to your other favorite, Velvet Underground and Nico.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that's.
I'm going to give that another chance.
Please do.
Please do.
These guys, I like Lou Reed solo, but and that's the only album I've heard too. Like I've heard a couple other songs. I like
Maybe you should try the self-titled album.
What's the one what's the one with Sweet Jane?
Loaded.
Loaded.
Really
I've heard really good things about that.
Right.
I should give
My favorite is the second one, White Light, White Heat, but that's the most experimental by far. That one is crazy.
And the thing is, I'm definitely open to giving everything a second chance. If I didn't like it the first time, well, that's okay. Give it a little while, try it again.
Like what I did with Elvis Costello. I hated him, and now I love him, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So always give everything a second chance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, unless it's like just a beat or something, or
Sorry, I hate the song Timber with a passion. I really do. I'm sorry.
I just think Revolver is one of the most. It's just so eclectic, and you have Indian music on there. You have a lot of sitar. You have hard rock. You have, almost like concerto pieces, like with a string quartet on Eleanor Rigby and the French horn on For No One.
I love that French horn.
It's just
that song is beautiful,
unbelievable, man. So that's my top 5. So
wow,
Blues Breakers with Clapton, Let It Bleed from the Rolling Stones, Who's Next from The Who, Led Zeppelin 2, and Revolver from the Beatles.
If I'm going to recap mine real quick, we have number 5, This Year's Model, Elvis Costello. Number 4, Our Love Supreme, John Coltrane. Number 3, Undone by The Roots. Number 2, Hounds of Love by Kate Bush. And number 1, Forever Changes by Love.
Mine are number 5, Black Holes and Revelations by Muse. Number 4, Strange Ways, Here We Come Again. Number 3, I don't even remember.
He had it on his laptop.
What did I say? Oh, My Favorite Things by John
Coltrane.
Coltrane. Number 2, Plastic Beach. Number 1, Quadrophenia, The Who. Boom.
All right, folks.
So,
we've gone through our docket for today. Mm-hmm. We've touched on all the bases we wanted to touch.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to the Red Sox game tomorrow, too, so there we go.
Well, there we go. Ben's
I am not going to the Red Sox game tomorrow.
So I might touch a base if I get
By the time you've heard this, the game will have already happened, so you can ask Ben how the experience was. Put your questions about the Red Sox game in the comments, and we'll talk about the Red Sox game extensively next episode. We'll also be talking about a genre.
Yes.
I was gonna say, we don't know.
We will let you know.
I'm going to keep you in the dark about that. I know what genre we're going to talk about.
In the dark.
Sorry. That's a great song. Billy Squiire.
In the middle of the night.
And Billy.
Anyway.
Stand by me.
We could go on and on with this.
Yeah. Well, we have another separate podcast where we sing songs that we like very poorly.
In the dark, I was born, left to see.
But anyway, everyone, check out Teenage Head by the Flamin Groovies.
Absolutely.
Check out the albums we recommended for blues rock. And
if you haven't heard our top 5, any of the albums, definitely get into checking them out.
If anyone's listening, question of the week, what are your favorite albums? Mm-hmm. Give us a few that you really like. Tell us why. Ask us if to discuss them. We will.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you ask, we'll talk about anything. And we'll be back with another discussion sort of based around the same thing. And just in general, let us know what you think of the show. What parts did you like? What parts did you not like? What do you want us to talk about? Because we'd love it if people were listening, and we'd love it if we were touching on topics that you guys were interested in. What genres do you like that we can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, any recommendations? Any blues rock albums you like? Any blues rock artists we didn't talk about?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. We couldn't talk about everything.
Yeah.
We just tried to talk about some general stuff.
And some of our favorites.
So what are your favorites? But other than that, I'm going to wish you a happy night, happy morning, happy afternoon, happy mid-noon, happy mid-afternoon.
Happy 11 C's, happy second breakfast.
Yep.
Brunch.
Okay, so...
Happy midnight and I'm not asleep, so I'm listening to a bad podcast.
Yeah.
And we will be back. Sayonara.